Hello everyone, we are Pranav Pachpande and Kshitij Mahajan. Today we are presenting an in-depth case study analysis of Equifax data breach that occurred in 2017. In the next few minutes, we'll take you through the timeline of events and the technical and organizational failures that led to the breach, its legal and reputational impact, and finally, our recommendation for avoiding such incidents in the future. Let's go ahead. So let's talk about the brief summary of the case. In 2017, Equifax, one of the largest credit reporting agency in the US, experienced a massive data breach. The breach exposed the personal data approximately 147 million Americans, nearly half of the US population. Shockingly, there was a significant delay in informing the public. Equifax detected the breach in July but didn't disclose it until September, more than a month later. Let's talk about why it matters. This breach was particularly damaging because of the kind of data stolen, including social security numbers, date of birth, addresses, and driver license number. Such information can't be easily changed, making it incredibly valuable for identity theft. Beyond individual impact, this breach also shocked public trust in data brokers and had massive financial and legal repercussions for Equifax. Let's see analysis of cause technically. Technically, the root cause was vulnerability in Apache Struts, an open source web framework. A, a patch for this vulnerability had been available since March, but Equifax failed to apply it. Worse, their SSL certificate had expired, so their system couldn't even detect suspicious traffic. On top of that, they were running the ACIS platform, a legacy system from 1970s, which was outdated and hard to secure or update. Let's talk about organizational analysis of cause. Organizationally, the company suffered from several internal disconnects. Security and IT teams operated in silos, leading to poor coordination. There was also weak patch management policy, essentially an honor system where people trusted to apply patches without any real checks or follow-ups. Let's see the decision makers involved in this. Several high-level executives were involved in or affected by this breach. CEO Richard Smith, CIO David Webb, Chief Legal Officer John Kelly, and Chief Security Officer Susan Moldin all played roles in Equifax cybersecurity posture. One, one key structure flaw was the CSO reported to the legal department rather than directly to the IT or executive board, which diluted accountability. Let's talk about the applicable laws for prosecution. From a legal standpoint, the hackers could be prosecuted under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Various state identity theft laws also apply here, depending on the jurisdiction of affected victims. If international actors were involved, which was suspected, international cybercrime international cybercrime treaties and laws could come into play as well. Let's talk about the legal measures to fulfill obligation. So Equifax was legally obligated to notify consumers under several state data breach laws. They cooperated with federal regulators, including FTC and Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. To address damages, Equifax established a 425 million fund to compensate affected individuals for credit monitoring and identity protection. Let's check impact of new data privacy laws. If the breach had occurred after GDPR took effect in 2018, Equifax would have faced steep penalties, potentially 4% of their global revenue. Similarly, under California CCPA, affected consumers would have had more a right to sue and demand answers from company. Let's talk about maximal mitigation measures. So, what could Equifax have done to prevent this? First, they should have maintained a real-time inventory of IT assets to identify and patch vulnerability quickly. Automating patch management with verification processes is essential. Sensitive data should always encrypted and stored in segmented networks to prevent attackers from moving freely. So these are the measures are essential. Next will be explained by my teammate Kshitij.
Hello everyone. So let's take a look at the public relations and the reputation management by Equifax. Equifax's PR response made the situation worse. They released confusing messages and even set up a website that had its own security flaws. They also included a forced arbitration clause in the terms, which sparked outrage. A better approach would have been to prioritize transparency, show empathy, and communicate clearly and quickly. Now let's take a look at the board recommendations. For future readiness, the board must treat cybersecurity as a strategic priority and not just a technical issue. The CSO should report directly to the CEO of the board and not the legal team. Cybersecurity investments should be regularly reviewed and systems modernized. And the board level training on cyber risk should also be mandated. Now let's take a look at the lessons that were learned. This case taught the world that security is everyone's responsibility. It's not just the IT's. Legacy system needs to be upgraded proactively before they become liabilities. And finally, organizations must avoid relying on informal, untracked procedures like the honor system for patching and compliance. Let's talk about the modern cybersecurity best practices. Today, cybersecurity frameworks have evolved significantly. The zero trust model assumes no user or system is trustworthy by default, even inside the network. Automated vulnerability scans and real time threat detection are or should be a norm. Companies also conduct regular incident response drills to stay prepared. Let's take a look at where Equifax went wrong. So, Equifax made several crucial errors. Their delayed disclosure of the breach and underestimation of the scope, and they also failed to act with urgency. Their outdated systems and lack of centralized cybersecurity leaderships made it easier for the attackers to succeed. Now we can see here the breach timeline. The timeline has its own story. In March 2017, the Apache Struts vulnerability was disclosed and a patch was issued. Equifax was breached in May but didn't detect the breach until late July. The public wasn't informed until September, a delay of about 6 weeks during which the damage worsened. The fallout. The fallout was very severe. Equifax faced over 240 class actions lawsuits and investigations by multiple agencies. Its stock price dropped significantly, wiping out billions in the market value. Top executives, including CEO and the CIO, resigned as a result of this. Since the breach, companies across industries have taken cybersecurity more seriously. Looking forward, there we can see a shift from reactive to proactive defense. Regulatory frameworks have become more robust, forcing companies to prioritize privacy and security before incidents occur. Final recommendations. To summarize our recommendations, organizations must continuously monitor and update their systems. Having an up to date incident response plan is no longer optional. And finally, Open communication with customers and regulators build long-term trust, something that Equifax failed to maintain. That concludes our case study on the Equifax data breach. Thank you so much for listening, and we are happy to take any questions that you may have.